Hey guys, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and this time we've got the pleasure of watching Thurandyl playing in the Tier 4 British medium tank, the Matilda. Now I have not featured this vehicle on the channel in about 3.5 years. The last time I played this tank was with Peppity in one of our hilarious videos when she used to join the live stream a long time ago, and still does. I'm just playing with her just last week on the charity stream. And the Matilda is, in my opinion, one of the best tanks tier for tier in the game, and I think it might be one of, if not the strongest tier 4 vehicles. Actually, thinking about it now, what other tier 4 vehicles are there that's really scary? Obviously the Su-85B is pretty insane at tier 4. That's a tank destroyer though. The Hetzer as well. There's a few other vehicles such as the Panzer B2740, which is truly monstrous. But the Matilda is brutal, not because of its speed. It certainly isn't the fastest of tanks, as we're seeing here. Limited to 24 kilometers an hour doesn't really sound like a medium tank, but remember, at low tiers, often the designations of tanks don't really match up with their capabilities. The vehicle has a terrible power to weight ratio, which is just over 7, and its ground resistances aren't exactly exceptional, so that doesn't make up for it. So this vehicle truly is slow. It would be very slow for a heavy tank. It's one of the slowest medium tanks in the game, I should expect. But it does have some other really admirable statistics. Number 1, 10 degrees of gun depression combined with a 40mm main armament, which has, I believe, 55 average damage. But look at that penetration. 121mm of penetration on your standard rounds. And also, while the tank doesn't have the highest alpha damage with its 40mm, it's got a great rate of fire. This vehicle, when you use a gun rammer and have a decent commander, you know, all of your crew skills sorted out, you're probably going to be firing about 32, possibly even higher rounds a minute. And so your reload goes below 2 seconds. And so you might, you know, autoloaders don't even have that kind of an unload, right? But you never have to reload the magazine, making the Matilda absolutely scary. And its DPM is rather decent, 1,571, as you would expect with the combination of the alpha and the crazy rate of fire on this vehicle. But there's another thing that's absolutely awesome about this tank, and that is the armor. It has 75mm of hull armor at the front, it has 70mm at the side, and still 55 at the rear. And the turret is no weaker, 75mm all round, I believe, including at the back of the turret. And so that makes this vehicle just so resilient. It is an absolute nightmare to try and dig one of these out. And when you meet them in many tier 3 or even possibly tier 4 tanks, you quite often just can't penetrate them with your standard ammunition. When you angle the Matilda correctly, you still maintain about 70-80mm of effective frontal armor, as there are some plates, especially on the lower plate, that are weaker than others. But your side armor is at about 100mm of effectiveness because of excellent tracks, and also I believe spaced armor plates that do cover the side of the tank as well. One problem that, as you're seeing here with the Matilda, is that while the rate of fire of this 40mm is absolutely crazy, the vehicle does find it hard to be able to fully aim before it fires, especially at, well, only at long ranges in such situations like this. But when you are firing, its accuracy isn't all that bad at 0.36. And Wargaming have obviously realized that when you give a tank a crazy rate of fire such as this, over 30 rounds a minute with the rammer, that they decided to give it excellent aim time, 1.9 seconds aim time, and it also has pretty darn good dispersion values, which means that unless you are truly at long range, you can still be fairly accurate right up until the mid-range is possibly about 300 meters. So unfortunately for Thurandyl here, his platoon mate has fallen, being taken out just towards the north of him, I believe, or maybe he went onto the other flank. Where was he? No, there he was. Wow, he truly went very deep towards the north. And the rest of his team haven't done very well at all as well. And even though Thurandyl is now up to nearly 600 damage, he has not picked up a single kill. And when you're in a matchup such as this, that's usually enough to pick up 2 or 3 kills. But alas, Thurandyl begins a 1 versus 13 situation with the T-18 HMC unable to penetrate his armor. Does that mean the T-18 HMC was firing an AP round or a heat round there? I can't believe a high explosive round would have been completely absorbed, but then again the Matilda is very heavily armored. So look how quickly Thurandyl puts 5 rounds into the Hetzer, and now he's going after a Lux, and that Lux is on 6 kills. Well, you'd say goodbye to your 7th kill. Look at the Lux on the enemy team. I think I got a little bit too overconfident there. And before we even blink, Thurandyl has picked up 3 kills. Will he be able to pick up his 4th here against the Soma S35 on the enemy team? Sure he will. Shuts him down. And all of the enemies are just surrounding him, but they're completely out in the open. They're all trying to penetrate him, but not a single round is going through his vehicle. Even the M3 Stuart trying to shoot him from behind, probably struggling with, I guess, the 75mm of all-round turret armor that this vehicle has. The Thurandyl ricocheting off as well. Not really a chance in hell for that vehicle to be able to go through this tank. And now, having killed one Marder 38T, he's going to take out the lower-tiered vehicle, the Marder 2. Oh, low roll there, leaving him on 1 hit point, having to fire a 3rd round in to finish him off. Now chasing after this Stuart, or should I say chasing, and I say that in probably one of the most ridiculous senses of the word, right? The Matilda isn't chasing anything quickly with its terrible power to weight ratio, an awful top speed limit. 1,361 damage now and 6 kills, but again, still 7 tanks remaining on the enemy team, changing his 1 versus 13 into the 1 versus 7. Now that Stuart seems to be playing quite sensibly against the Matilda, and that's one thing that's incredibly frustrating about the tank, is that really your opponents have to come to you and they have to make mistakes, just like this Type 91 who got caught completely out in the open. But as long as your opponents are sneaky and they use their mobility, then they effectively choose when the Matilda engages them. A lot like you would, say, a very high-tier heavy tank if you were in a light tank or a medium, or alternatively you were fighting a tank destroyer. Apart from this tank destroyer has a turret and a good slab of hit points for tier 4 at 370. So now the enemies have decided, oh god, we're not going after that Matilda, he's halved our numbers, let's go and try and pressure the base. But a Type 95 steps up to the challenge, that tier 4 Japanese heavy tank, unable to go through the side of armor even with 110 alpha damage. I don't know quite what caliber gun that is and what penetration it has. Luckily the Type 95 misses 1 shell towards the rear of the tank. 7 health left. There we go. Matilda down. I'm not sure if he was ammo racked there. That Type 95 all but stopped shooting at Thurandyl, who's now picked up his 8th kill and has progressed his way back towards the cap circle. I love effectively what he's doing here. He's just not giving a damn about stopping and engaging tanks. He's prioritizing what he needs to do, and that is to be able to interrupt the cap circle right now. Luckily, the UE-57 doesn't seem to have progressed towards the cap, and Thurandyl locks down the track. The M5 Stuart finally penetrates him behind, having fired a few APCR rounds at him earlier, now delving into the AP rounds that the vehicle has. This Thurandyl caught out in the cap circle. He's probably like, oh no, please no! Thurandyl's engine is knocked out, however, further lowering the mobility of the Matilda. But he shuts down the Thurandyl and turns his attention now towards that pesky M3 Stuart that was penetrating him earlier. Well, just a couple of rounds ago, as we can see here, that was the shell that knocked out his engine. But irrelevant. Thurandyl protects the cap circle, and luckily it looks like the artillery have been struggling here a little bit. Maybe the T18 HMC or the M7 Priest on the enemy team were unable to get some shots out of him as he was going into the open. You'd think those would be the natural counter for the Matilda. Certainly not the biggest tank, but definitely very slow. Should be an easy shot for the enemy artillery. However, Thurandyl has managed to get some speed here along the train tracks, looking for where the M3 Stuart is going to be. One thing I'm surprised with Thurandyl's loadout is this vehicle only has 340 meters view range. But that hasn't stopped him from spotting the Stuart there, although at below 300 meters. I wonder if Thurandyl is using coated optics on this vehicle, as I can't see a camo net, I can't see binoculars, and I usually like to use binoculars on this tank, but then again, maybe Thurandyl likes to have more mobility and keep moving, and that definitely suits coated optics. But even still, we can see that his dynamic circle doesn't go anywhere near the 445 meters maximum spotting distance in World of Tanks. So, wow, now nearly up to 2,000 damage in a tier 4 tank in 11 kills, Thurandyl picking apart 11 opponents in a row by himself. Now all that's left is the T18 HMC that he dispatches with ease. Doesn't even look like the T18 HMC managed to spot him there, and now he's going to be having to go after the M7 Priest. What a game, and I tell you what, there's an Electo on his team called Big Stan 5 who says, I am jumping up and down, go on. Yeah, I wish I'd been in this game. You know what, usually in these kind of rounds you leave the battle and play another game, right? Yeah, it's awesome that Big Stan on his team has been sitting there in his Electo the whole time, and he got to see this live as it happens, whereas all of us get to see it in the replay format and get to enjoy it later on. Nevertheless, it's still been an absolute terror of a game, and Thurandyl just has to watch out that the M7 Priest doesn't manage to get into the cap circle now, because if he manages to get inside his cap circle, pretty much now, at least in the next few seconds, then that means that it's going to be a loss. Now, of course, if Thurandyl managed to get into the enemy cap circle, he can turn it into a draw, because there's no way in hell he's going to manage to get back. But let's not worry about that now. The M7 Priest has spotted him. He puts his first shell in, misses the second. The M7 Priest fires it off in the most random of directions, allowing Thurandyl to finish him off and pick up his 13th kill of this monster carry. So now we can see that the Matilda certainly lives up to the name that Thurandyl has given it, Demon, as he dispatches pretty much the entirety of the enemy team one by one, showing us exactly why the Matilda has to be one of the most powerful tanks tier for tier in the game, and I thoroughly recommend picking one of these up, especially if you're a new player, as the combination of thick all-round armor and a 40mm with very impressive penetration on its standard rounds, while only sacrificing mobility, can allow you to stick around in your games for long enough to get your practice in. So unsurprisingly, Thurandyl picks up an ace tanker here for 1,641 base experience points. He scores the Kolobanov's medal, the one that everyone wants for standing alone against at least 5 opponents, in this case 13. A defender medal for his 86 base defense points, as well as a cool-headed medal for surviving at least 10 ricochets in a row, and a steel wall medal. How much did he block this game? Only 945. I thought it would be a lot more than that, but he only received 25 hits. And he also feeds his platoon mate, who didn't get a single kill, a crucial contribution medal. But I can't imagine Lansons feels too bad about that one, and also a high caliber for the 2,287 damage that he dealt, pretty much 10 times what anyone else on his team was able to achieve, and double their combined damage. And Thurandyl also doesn't have a premium account, yet still made 25,000 credits profit, showing the Matilda can be an excellent vehicle for a free-to-play player with its high penetration on its standard ammunition cost. So Thurandyl, congratulations to you. This was an absolute mammoth game, and thank you so much for uploading it on What Replays to share with the community. And hopefully you enjoyed this video. If you did, please give it a like and let me know in the comments what you think about the Matilda. Do you think the vehicle is crazy OP? Do you have one yourself? Do you love playing it? And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.